He was born as Hosato Takei on April the 20th, 1937 in Los Angeles, California. Following the attack on Pearl Harbor, he and his family were relocated from Los Angeles to the Roar Relocation Center in Arkansas. Later, they were moved to the Camp Toohey Lake in Northern California. His family was incarcerated at an internment camp in Arkansas when he was 5 years old. He learned to recite the Pledge of Allegiance while surrounded by guard towers and barbed wire fences. His first-hand knowledge of the unjust internment of the 120,000 Japanese Americans in World War II created a lifelong interest in politics and community affairs. He is best known for his role in the television series Star Trek as Lieutenant Sulu in 1966. And his favorite catchphrase was, "Oh my." George has been living in London for the past 5 months. He has been performing in his musical George Takei's Allegiance at the Charing Cross Theater after 103 performances. He returned to the USA on Thursday, April the 13th. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to introduce our friend and a huge advocate for the interests of the Japanese Americans, Mr. George Takei.
Thank you, Mayor Ouyang. And I can't tell you how happy and grateful I am to be here with all of you on this location. It was 10 years ago that I came here and spoke at this mic in front of this building. It was a very special occasion because this building, first of all, was built as a building for transportation. It was a railway station, but there came a time when the trains didn't stop here anymore, or soon the trains didn't come through here anymore. So it lay empty and barren and unused. And with Mayor Ouyang's leadership, the idea to put a museum in it came about, and they chose to tell a little bit about Takei County's history. Takei County held both Jerome and Roar. And that story should be important for all people of Takei County. But not all people of Takei County knew about this history. And it should be a part of Arkansas history. And many people in Arkansas didn't know about what happened in Takei County over 80 years ago. And it is an important chapter, a very important lesson to be learned from that chapter for all Americans. And it's very little known still today in the United States. We took the story of Allegiance, which takes place in an internment camp in Hart Mountain, as a matter of fact, to London to tell the story with an audience made up of British people and a lot of American tourists who happened to be in London. And most of those people, after the show, told us that they knew nothing about it. But most vitally important, Japanese Americans who were incarcerated and their descendants know very little about it. My father was block manager, and when I was a teenager, I became very curious, and we had many long after-dinner discussions as a teenager. I learned about it from my father, although I was here and experiencing it as a young child. And there are Japanese Americans whose parents did not talk about it. It's their own family history, and there's that blank in their history. It is a very important story Japanese Americans. And I am eternally grateful for the people of McGehee and Takei County to decide to make this center of transportation a museum to tell that Arkansas history. Because this building had served as a transportation center, and with a museum that tells a story of Takei County and of Arizona, or of Arkansas. My husband is from Arizona. I misspeak often. And an important American story needs to be told right here. And that is why I was here for the first opening 10 years ago, this very spot, for the gala opening of the World War II Japanese American Internment Museum. This museum tells an important story. And today we celebrate a decade of telling that important story. And as people from faraway places came here, and people from here went to faraway places, today now, this building is still in the transportation business. It takes people back in time to history to learn about what happened here 80 years ago. And it inspires people to look to the future, and with the lessons learned here, to build a better future, not only for Arkansas, but for America. And transporting ideas, information, and inspiration. This building today is even more vitally in the transportation business. I first returned to Arkansas after I left as a 5-year-old back in 2004. That was my first return to Arkansas and to Rower, where we were incarcerated. I knew a great deal from what my father told me. So I came with what I thought was a lot of information and eagerly looking forward to connecting with my memory that happened here in Takei County, in Rower. We arrived at Little Rock, and by bus we came down, and the bus driver told me that we were nearing Rower. I looked around, and it didn't look anything like what I remembered. We kept on going, and the same scenery continued, and soon the driver said, "We are now where Rower was." It was completely changed. The lesson I learned was that things change. The swamp had been drained, the trees had been chopped down, and it was just miles upon miles of cotton fields. And I'm told that some of those cotton fields are now gone. Something else is being grown there now. But when I came back in 2004, as a 67-year-old, so I've been gone a long time, and a lot of major changes had happened. Change happens. And what this museum does is it informs people. They understand better history. And then, if they're really inspired, they move forward to try to make Takei County and Arkansas and our country, the United States, a better place. Because even today, we are in troubled times. We have racial fractures, we have political fracture, and we have a time when violent, unthinking people practice violence. We saw it on January 6th last year. So the lesson to be learned here is vitally important. And I am grateful for the existence of the World War II Japanese American Internment Camp Museum. It is an important contribution to making America a better country, a more informed country, and hopefully making better Americans. And so I would like to conclude with a gesture from Star Trek. Some of you may recognize this. It's a welcome gesture, and it means live long and prosper.